Hey, do you ever feel that you're like trapped in some endless rat race where no matter how hard you try, no matter how much you effort and work, it just doesn't matter. You're gonna wind up on square one all over again. Because financially, that's how most Americans live every single day. And today, I'm gonna show you how to freaking get out of the rat race and financially get ahead.
One shot, now the future is yours. Go! I'm turning dreams into reality. Yeah, it's one shot, now the future is yours. Go!
Man, I was introduced to this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, when I was like a young, dumb college kid, and it talked about the financial rat race, and I was like, that's exactly how I feel. Like this whole idea of really getting nowhere. So today I want to talk about how you actually quit your job while making a lot more money, and it all has to do with how you get out of the rat race. Check out this definition from Wikipedia. A rat race is an endless, self-defeating, or pointless pursuit. The phrase equates humans to rats attempting to earn a reward such as cheese in vain. It may also refer to a competitive struggle to get ahead financially without actually having success. And you know what? If you've ever felt that way before, then let me tell you, welcome home. This is your channel. Subscribe. Today, I'm going to show you the 3 steps of getting out. Now, you might be wondering, Kris, how would I really know if I was in some kind of rat race? Number one, there's not a lot of leftover cheddar at the end of the month. You're not making enough. But there's some feelings that I want you to be aware of. Symptoms would include things like fear of failure, like, shoot, well, I want to take risks and I want to get out there, but I'm afraid that I might fail. There's feelings of isolation, being alone, or maybe there's some FOMO, this whole fear of missing out. There could also be fear of competition, like, shoot, I'm gonna freaking get squashed if I put myself out there. There's constant exhaustion. There's this fear of loss of income of like, man, if it doesn't work out, how much is it gonna cost me? Am I gonna go deeper into debt? I don't know if I can live with that. I don't know if my loved ones can live with that. Also, some people get stuck in the rat race when they need to be liked. They have this need for validation. They need this outside acknowledgement from other people that they're okay or that they're doing well. That person is not very secure in who they are. Trust me, I used to be the world's biggest people pleaser, and it was exhausting how much effort it took just to know that I was still good with everyone in my airspace. There's also this feeling of emptiness or being unfulfilled, like, am I really like making an impact? Is my work really mattering? There's never having time for yourself. There's the need to constantly prove yourself. There's the need to keep up with the Joneses. At the end of the day, man, you just feel like you're putting it all out there. And yet if you're not getting ahead, you're doing it wrong. I had just finished my first semester of college. And I have to tell you, the most important class I took was my chemistry class. And when I got my grades back, I got a C. And I remember going to my advisor and I said, well, you know, I want to be a doctor. I got a C. How bad is it? And basically he said, if you don't retake the class and get an A, you should not pursue this path, because we're talking about you doing like 10 years of chemistry. You're gonna hate your life if you can't figure this out. So you know what? I retook the class, I got a tutor, I worked extra hard, and at the end of the term, I got a C minus. I got a freaking worse grade the second go around. And you know what? It was so frustrating because at the exact same time, I was in this telemarketing job and I was talking to people that had already gone to college 30 years earlier. They had been great savers, 401kers, IRAs, house payer offers. And guess where they were all at? They had maybe like a couple $100,000 worth of net worth. Like retirement was around the corner. And I felt nothing from them other than this panic, this rat race panic. And I decided right then and there, I'm doomed. I'm never gonna figure this out. I'm never gonna make it as a doctor, and I'm gonna wind up like these people. So what broke the cycle? I had to learn how to become introspective. I had to learn to future pace. I had to say, okay, great. So you get a job, this will be your pay, this is roughly when you're gonna get raises, this is maybe like what your top end earning is gonna look like. And I started doing the math. How much money could I actually save? And the information that came back, honestly, was super disappointing but very helpful. I realized that if I was an expert at saving money, that I would probably suffer from like miserly frugality my entire life, never really spend money on nice trips, nice vacations, nice stuff. And in the end, I would fall short by about 85% of the money that I would need. And you know what? I just described what it is to be an American in our country today, post-college degree. This introspection actually led me to a very important conclusion. which was if I wanted to follow society's path, society's game plan, they were not there to make me wealthy or rich. They weren't there to make me enough money to pay for my parents and their financial needs and their retirement. They were literally just there to help me get ahead a little bit and to basically help me pay my bills. And I didn't understand that. No one had ever told me that. No one told me that this whole, good grades, go to college, piece of paper, says you're smart, work for someone else. No one told me that that was the rat race and that it was going to lead to a big fat dead end.
This is a dead end.
So I did what any smart person would do. I found a real professor, not one inside the halls of university, because I didn't need career training. What I really needed was advice from someone who had become financially free. I found my mentor, and ultimately it led me on a journey where I discovered 3 essential things that I needed to do to reclaim my life. And right now I'm going to share with you what those are. Take pen and paper out. I want you to take notes on this because school is in session. I'm going to show you how to get out of the rat race right now. My very first mentor taught me that I needed to become good at saving money. Not because saving any amount of money would ever really create financial security or wealth, but it's because I would need that savings to be able to invest. So here's the first thing that you need to do. You need to create a financial backup. And that means, number 1, save 20% of your earnings. And this is a big ask for a lot of people, but yes, you've got to figure out how to literally live off of 80% of the money that you're earning. The other 20% is being set aside. It's being saved for a future investment. Number 2, you need to learn to differentiate between needs and wants. Because at the end of the day, we don't get what we want. We get what we need. We get what we have to. Which means most of us are going to default to that reptilian part of our brain that says, what are my baseline, expenses? And then how do I make enough money for that? Well, how are you supposed to get ahead when you're taking advice from that reptile sitting in the back of your brainstem? Instead, you've got to figure out what are true needs and what are real wants so that I can set my wants aside, delay gratification, and take that extra savings, dump it up over here, because guess what, baby? That's not for lifestyle, that's for your next investment. Bottom line is there's gotta be a period of time in your life where you live below your means. And you know what? That does not sound sexy, but you know what? It's a chapter in your life. And the sooner you realize it and the sooner you start living it, and the more successful you are at saving money and delaying those wants, the better position and the faster you're going to be in a situation where you say, hey, I've got a little bit of money and now I can invest. It took me 14 months to save up $5,000. It was at that time in my life one of the hardest things that I've ever done. But you know what that $5,000 did? I threw it at a business called real estate investing. It bought me a house with a basement that I could rent out, and that basement covered the entire mortgage. It meant that my wife and I, we eliminated our biggest expense. We lived for free. It wouldn't have happened unless we had been saving that money. But that was then, and this is now. And since then, I've learned a lot. What advice would I have given myself? Well, shoot, I'm telling you, with what I know today, I would have gotten out of the rat race so much sooner. This is the advice I wish I could have gone back and given myself. The second step is not about buying a piece of property and renting it out and living it for free. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not a bad decision. Here's a superior one. Find a high margin side hustle. Side hustle just means a really dumb, stupid business that you can do on the side that makes you a lot of money. Here's what it looks like. You're looking for something that only takes 10 or 20 hours a week. And I'd recommend, frankly, no more than 2 hours a day. If it's taking more than that, it's going to feel too competitive to your job, and then you're going to feel overworked. And believe me, I already did that one. So you've got to have really good standards. My standard, maximum 2 hours a day. That way I could still fit in school or I could still fit in work and not feel like my brain's exploding. Number 2, you have to double your income. You got to be thinking, all right, I get a maximum of 2 hours a day. In 2 hours, how can I compete with 8 hours a day that I'm giving my boss? How can I in 2 hours make as much money? Because remember, if you can, guess what happens? You can quit your job, you can reclaim all of that time. Now you're spending 2 hours to make the same amount of money. Number 3, you're gonna standardize your SOPs. That stands for standard operating procedures. And that's because I don't want you to do the side hustle, I want you to own the side hustle. And so if you document how you spend 2 hours a day to make that money, guess what you can do with that documentation? You can take 20% of the money, give it to someone to do 100% of the work, and now you've reclaimed that extra 2 hours. First your job, now even the time that you've been putting in your business. And then that is the 4th step, you're gonna hire it out. In other words, start with the end in mind. You don't want to replace one stressful job for another stressful job or one stressful job for a less stressful job. Your goal is to get out of the rat race, not simply make the rat race easier. Notice what just happened. You saved money strategically, Then you started a side business. You started with the end in mind to get someone else to work it. So guess what you have now? You should have more money. And what should you do with all that money that you don't need to pay your expenses? Because you have all this left over, you get to the third step. You create streams of passive income. There's 3 core things you should do. Number 1 is you can buy dividend paying stocks. As in, some stocks quarterly, just by owning them, they actually cut you a check, like 5% a year or 8% a year. Some pay out 10% a year. Number 2, own a business. And you're like, well, Kris, don't I own a business? Yeah, expand the thing, do another one, have 5 of them. Dude, if you can do it once with just 2 hours a day, then what would happen if you did that 10 more times? You're on the path to where poor people and middle class people become wealthy. And then number 3, of course, 100%, do what the wealthy do, own real estate. Because remember, 90% of all millionaires, they did it in real estate. And if they didn't make their money in real estate, that sure as heck is where they store it. Okay, Kris, well, that sounds all fine and dandy if you can actually find a side hustle where for just 2 hours a day, you could actually, replace your income. And that sounds a little far-fetched. If that sounds a little far-fetched, it just means that you're new to entrepreneurship. I promise you, those opportunities exist because during COVID, I ended up collecting 50 different little mini businesses that all had the power either pay you hundreds of dollars a week, thousands of dollars a week, or completely replace your job. In fact, I had a lot of people that actually quit their job entirely, took those hustles, expanded them, and started making ludicrous, crazy amounts of money. So it's out there, yes, you have to certainly believe it. And if you're a little unsure, you should check out the link below, because I've organized all of it for you. And in the link below, I'm gonna show you something I created called 7-Figure Hustle. And today it includes some of the most profitable hustles out there for today's economy and how I got people literally making loads of money. Some people literally making not hundreds, but thousands of dollars, $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 on single jobs that took them literally only a handful of hours. Sounds a little unbelievable, but then again, if I told you how much money I make through all of my business and investing, you'd call me crazy.
Oh, you crazy.
Why get out of the rat race? Because ultimately happiness isn't a goal to be obtained in the future. This is something that you can achieve now. Unfortunately, a lot of us will pin our own happiness on achievements or successes or the amount of money that we have. And truth is, you gotta find a way to be happy with your life today, but it's a lot easier to be motivated and happy if you have hope. And hope comes from putting action into something that can create that freedom for you and get you off of that freaking rat race wheel. My buddy came to me and he said, Kris, I'm at risk for losing my job. How would I do one of these side hustle businesses and replace an 8-figure income? If you wanna know, check out this video and let him show you. Believe me, I already did that one. So you have to have, give me a different angle. So you have to have, what are they called? Standards, thank you. Okay.